The story for Neonomicon is comic book legend Alan Moore, Watchmen, and brilliant artist Jason Burrows delivers a chilling tale of Lovecraftian horror. Brers and Lamper, two young and cocky FBI agents, investigate a fresh series of ritualistic murders somehow tied to the final undercover assignment of Aldo Sachs, the once golden boy of the Bureau, now a convicted killer and inmate of a maximum security prison. From their interrogation of Sachs, where he spoke exclusively in inhuman tongues, to a related drug raid on a seedy rock club rife with arcane symbols and otherworldly lyrics. They suspect that they are on the trail of something awful, but nothing can prepare them for the creeping insanity and unspeakable terrors they will face in the small harbor town of Innsmouth. Now, this is an obvious inspiration of everything Lovecraftian and the Cthulhu mythos. This is kind of like Alan Moore's and Jason Burrows' addition to it, because ever since Lovecraft's death, authors will take the mythos and add to it, and then just leave it and move on to their own stuff, maybe sometimes adding to it, but another author will do the same thing, take it, add to it, and then just move it along, And that's kind of like what they did with this, except they kind of did it in a different way. There's two different stories in here. They both interlink. Like, we see Aldo Sachs' story first with him investigating and then going mentally insane, start killing people, and then the two FBI agents, interrogating him and raid on the club and doing their own investigation, which leads down weird shit. But they basically take all the themes that are in the Lovecraft stories and take it in a literal sense, because a lot of Lovecraft stuff he just says is like unspeakable terrors or some of the and also it's also just not only interpretation but also just the way he writes about some of his creatures. People kind of interpret it as like, is he talking about human anatomy, like is Cthulhu representation of a woman's vagina or everything like that? And they're like, let's take all that and make it literal. And they did. Not literally like you see a picture of Cthulhu and it's a woman's vagina. No, it's not that at all. But they kind of interpret it as a prophecy. And what's cool is that everything they say in the story, in the end, that basically all of Lovecraft's work is a prophecy of what's to come. And that's pretty interesting. And the artistry in this is actually pretty good. It's sometimes graphic, but very good. And it really has no holds bar, because there is a sex orgy in a few scenes, but also rape. One of the sea creatures in Innsmouth rapes a female character, and it doesn't hold back at all. And it's very, well, not violent, but very kind of like, whoa. Kind of like a step beyond what Girl with the Dragon Tattoo did with its rape scenes. And it is shocking. There is a lot of blood and gore, and a lot of weird dialogue, because the alien tongues, but also just a lot of weirdness in itself, because, well, the Cthulhu mythos, if you've read it, is always weird, but it's just strange things keep happening, weird characters pop in and out, and it, in a weird sense, especially if you've read the Lovecraft stories, this kind of helps have it make sense. Although it's also nice little references, like a shop is called The Whisperer in Darkness in reference to the title of the story. But especially if you've read the stories, it kind of helps make sense of some of the stories if you had trouble trying to understand them. But also adds a nice linear set to them, and also kind of like it's kind of like a modern eye looking back at that to try and interpret it for the modern audience. So it's kind of helping in that sense. But the story and characters are very interesting. The female character, I forget what the female character's name is in here, but she's very interesting, and her role actually towards the end, at first when I read this I was completely weirded out by it. I was like, I can't really understand this. Then I reread it and I was like, oh, okay, I get it now. Like I said, it's again prophecy, and her role in that prophecy is a big deal and helps towards the end of the story, although it leaves you off like, oh my god, where is this going to go? I understand there's a sequel to this. I have yet to read it, but I will eventually. It's just going to be a long while. But I do want to see where this goes and how it handles the Cthulhu mythos for even further from what they wrote, and what the female character is going to go through, and all this and that. It is very interesting. Um, all in all, particularly if you're a fan of the Cthulhu mythos, Neonomicon is a worthwhile read. I do recommend it. For those who've never read the Cthulhu mythos or know very little about it, you will be weirded out as fuck on this, and will be utterly disturbed by the images, the graphic content, the sexual content, and just some of the otherworldly images that are in here. You'll be like, what the fuck am I looking at? You'll almost go insane. But yes, it is a very good story. It does. I do want to read more. Like I said, there's a sequel that's kind of actually a prequel and a sequel. I do want to read that. I just haven't seen it in any of my comic book stores yet. I'll have to order it. But yes, it is a very good read. Colorful. The artistry is very well done, as you kind of tell from right here. How finely drawn it is. Some of the other. Let me bring out a really good otherworldly image here for you. That's just whoa. Let's see. Alright, so here we go. No, not weird enough. Ah, here we go. That's fucked up. But yeah, so the colors, the drawing, everything's well done. The characters are pretty well written. Kind of simplistic in some cases, but particularly the female FBI agent is very well rounded. And, you know, is just, like I said, her importance is very well written, and the flow is good. But it's very much written like a cheap. I don't want to say cheap. It's not necessarily cheap, but kind of like a low end science fiction thriller horror movie. It's kind of written like that, so it has like a nice flow, kind of easy read, and also kind of like a quickened pace, but not too fast. But it does keep you entertained. It does keep you intrigued. You like really into it. You do get entranced. So it doesn't, it has no problems with keeping things interesting. So now I give this graphic novel 3 stars out of 5. Like I said, it's worth reading, although it helps if you have read the Cthulhu Mythos before, because if you haven't, you might be kind of lost, or you'll just be like, what the fuck is this shit? So yeah. Well, thank you for watching, and sorry again if I'm rambling too much. I'm kind of doing this one off the fly. I didn't have time to script this one, and I just realized I'd never done a review for this one. I read this a couple years ago, so thank you all for watching, and have a good night, or day, whenever time you're watching this.